Oh, not just Will and Dibby. It's also Mr. ... Yeah. We'll explain to Mike Silver in a second why we're calling him that.
I'm not asking him a darn thing. He laughed at me.
Mike, do you know that your awesome cackle has become an amazing part of our show in the last 2 weeks? Do you even know that?
No idea. I'm sorry. I've been running around and I'm out of that loop.
So let's let you in on it. It was a couple of weeks ago where Dibs brought up the idea of Jimmy Garoppolo on the 49ers next year. And before he could even finish the question, this is what came from you. And we loved it. And that now it's a supportive piece of our show because now our team just can play that whenever we say something and it makes us feel like we're funny. So we appreciate you.
Well, and for context, I'm not saying there's no way that Jimmy Garoppolo will be on the 49ers next year. I'm saying that the notion that the 49ers might decide, hey, we have decreed that you will be our guy going forward, here's the deal, is laughable because he will have the power in this relationship for the first time, at least since 2017, in that scenario. And by the way, that would be a good scenario for 49ers fans. It will have meant that they had wild success in the end.
Well, just for context, when I was watching the big game and I saw Stanford cough it up and Cal had a scoop and score, I reacted the same way that you did to my Garoppolo question. Exactly.
I mean, I was not laughing. I was going crazy. Much less happy when we proceeded to witness another end zone interception that could have clinched the game a little earlier. So it was an emotional journey, but it ended with bliss.
That was a Garoppoloian throw in the red zone. Back foot into double coverage? My God.
To a little used receiver who didn't fight for the ball. But other than that, it was a good moment. Hey, listen, we have the axe.
There you go. Yeah, he was trying out for the 49ers. It works for them. So Mike Silver with us, as he is every week, here on Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. Hey, before we actually move on from that, let me ask you this. With regard to that Garoppolo conversation and him having the power, here's one thing that a lot of us don't feel like we know. I wonder if you do a little bit. What would Jimmy's openness be to continuing with the 49ers? Or is there are there hurt feelings there? Does he want to be elsewhere?
Let's give me 1 week and let's talk about it next week on the show, and I'll have much better insight.
Okay. Yeah, that's totally fair. Now, with regard to why we called you Mr. ... I saw the tweet. The Jeff Wilson trade ... is looking regrettable. Do you feel that way? Or do you think the 49ers are ready to let Jordan Mason get some run?
I think it's regrettable. Obviously, they didn't know that Elijah Mitchell was going to suffer another MCL injury that would keep him out. But, this is a system that is very intricate and that requires a degree of familiarity. And it is, having a guy like Jeff Wilson who knows it well and obviously has some physical skills too, I think was a luxury. They tried to do right by him. He, in the wake of the McCaffrey trade, he apparently came to them and said, trade me. They could have said no, and you deal with it. And I think in retrospect, knowing what they know now, they probably would have. But, it is what it is. They obviously have McCaffrey, and they can go to Jordan Mason and Ty Davis-Price as the next guy. Then it might not be disastrous. I'm just saying, knowing what they know now, they wish they hadn't done that. And knowing what they know now, the Dolphins are stoked that they did that. And Jeff Wilson will be at Levi's on Sunday, just on the other side of the field.
And Raheem Mostert. And when you think about a Dolphins-Niners matchup, you wouldn't have thought about a blood feud or a rivalry game. But does it feel like this matchup is maybe the hottest contested Dolphin-Niner game since the famous Super Bowl from decades ago?
Yeah, I'd have to go back and research, but yeah, it's got some spice to it, right? Obviously, Mike McDaniel, who got his first ever head coaching interview and nailed it and became the Dolphins head coach, is doing a fantastic job. He inherited a situation where Brian Flores, who was a very good coach, had not had, was not a super popular guy in that building, especially with his quarterback who was kind of beaten down. And Mike McDaniel has given Tua unconditional love and schemed it up, and among other things, really energized, that building. And they went out and got Tyreek Hill, which obviously was a bold move that has been a game changer for them. So they're explosive. Obviously, they're playing a defense that's been very, very stingy. So that part was cool. And then, of course, we had the Raheem Mostert comment saying, hey, now I got a quarterback who can sling it. And then, the 49ers reacted accordingly. So that makes it fun, too.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, a little more on that. Like that, what's your reaction to Raheem Mostert saying that, trying to walk it back, Debo calling him out, a little eyebrow raising, right? I wouldn't have thought of issues between Raheem Mostert and not just the 49ers, but actual teammates.
Well, the Dolphins lead the league in hyperbole when it comes to Tua, right? Tyreek Hill said that he was more accurate than Patrick Mahomes before the season, which seemed like the most laughable thing ever. Now it's less laughable, but look how far Tua has come. We're talking about a guy who, they couldn't wait to get rid of him not that long ago, and now they're like risking his health to keep him out there in a game against the Bills in week 3, right? So it's definitely changed. But yeah, the thought that somebody would be talking about Tua as a quarterback who can really sling it in relation to Jimmy or anyone else would have seemed kind of wild a few months ago. So, I don't know if Raheem Mostert meant, to slight Jimmy or was just speaking truthfully in his mind and not, checking it, or if he sincerely wanted to, throw some shade. But, these guys are very, very, intense people who get motivated in a variety of ways. I don't think something like that is going to impact what actually happened, but it makes it more fun.
Mostert intimated also that the Niners were rushing him back and not forcing him, but encouraging him to play hurt. Is that a notion that is unheard of in the NFL, or is that really more endemic of the entire 32 teams?
Oh, I would say it's heard of. Yeah. It's there's a players association to try to protect players to the best they can, but a lot of times players have to look out for their own interests, and those interests will necessarily at times quarrel with the interest of the team, which is keeping the chains of commerce moving and trying to win football games. So, do the 49ers organizationally care about Raheem Mostert's long-term health or, future career prospects after leaving the 49ers? Maybe a little, but that's not their primary concern. So, I think in this case, there probably was just a difference of opinion. The 49ers were like, yo, you can do this and come back in 8 weeks. It'll really help us. And Raheem Mostert was like, I get that, but I'm trying to take care of myself in a position that is not getting premium contracts relative to production, and 11 people try to hit me on every play. So, I commend Raheem Mostert for looking after his own interests. They don't always align with the team.
Mike Silver joining us here, Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. Mike, I'm just going to throw this straight out to you. I remember 3 weeks ago you saying, hey, this idea that the Chargers are not a good test for the 49ers. Chargers are a solid team. They passed that test. The Dolphins are even better. They're 8-3, but Vegas is telling us the 49ers are better. Who do you think, through your eyes, who's a better football team, 49ers or Dolphins?
Well, we're going to see, right? The Dolphins have been really, really good, but we don't trust them the way we do 49ers, as a national viewing audience, because we've seen, something close to this 49er team go on a run last year and almost get to the Super Bowl. We have not seen this Dolphins incarnation win a really big game. That was a nice win over the Bills, obviously, early. But, we're going to see. And we have a really explosive offense against a shutdown defense. I feel like the 49ers are better right now, but Dolphins are playing in what looks like a tougher conference, and they're doing really well. And we know they're both going to be coached up because McDaniel and Shanahan will bring it. So I think who will be better on this Sunday is an interesting question. Both of these teams are trying for something bigger, and ultimately there will be a reckoning come January, February.
I know it's too early to put this defense in historical perspective, but is this that unusual to see a defense this good in the second half of games, 4 straight shutouts after the intermission?
It feels unusual to me. I'd have to look up the numbers. Second half is a big deal. Now you can look at you can look at things like a field goal being missed and a false start preceding that, and some other things that could have led to points. It's not always perfect, but yeah, they obviously have to have your attention when they do something that significant. And a shutout's a shutout, and they just shut out an NFL team. So yeah, they're pretty good.
Mike, is DeMeco Ryans gone next year for sure?
Well, in a fair and just world, yes, he would be gone for sure. He is a home run candidate. He schematically is showing you what he can do. He had a decorated career as a player in terms of locker room interactions and leadership. He was known as a leader from the second he arrived at the Texans. He is working under an accomplished head coach for a first-rate organization, and it's hard to find anyone who comes in contact with him who doesn't talk about his great qualities as a motivator, as a leader, as a strategist. So if the world is fair and just, he's at the top of everybody's list. I would caution you that people with DeMeco Ryans' skin color have not always received the fairest treatment in the NFL collectively. There is systemic racism. That was the charge in the Flores lawsuit, and the definition of systemic racism is what has happened certainly during my 30-plus years covering the league, anecdotally and statistically, and it is happening now. So he should be gone, but I've seen a lot of things happen that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, no, that's a totally fair answer. You keep saying if it's a fair and just world, which it is not. We already know that. So, Mike, thanks for that. Appreciate it. And sounds like we get to talk to you again later this week, yeah?
Yeah, let's talk later this week. Hopefully I won't be in an Uber that time, and it'll be a little smoother, but it'll be good.
No, it was all good. Where'd you just arrive, by the way?
Just arrived at my parents' house in Los Angeles for a very quick visit before I get back up north.
Well, beautiful.
While you're down there, if you can fix the Rams, well, never mind. You don't have that kind of time.
Yeah, the Rams are not going to be fixed. It's over. But if you're the Rams, you're like, cool. We got a ring. It's over.
Yeah, exactly. Over for how long? How long of a rebuild is that?
Let's see. They don't really have any draft picks. The cap is stretched. They're star heavy, and some of those stars might hang it up. And the head coach is probably going to walk away after this year. I think it's a long rebuild.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. Sounds good. That's a great answer.
Great.
I love it. Mike, thanks. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. There he goes. Mike Silver. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mike Silver, bye-bye.
Go on.